Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to teach you how to control the preamps in your PreSonus Quantum from within Logic Pro 10. Why would you want to do this? Well, it's really the only way to recall preamp gain settings for your interface from the computer. Best of all, you can do it right from your session file. Also, you can recall phantom power settings as well, but I really don't recommend this unless you're absolutely certain that what you have connected to your interface will not be harmed by phantom power. I personally feel it's best studio practice to always manually enable phantom power as needed, but regardless, I'm going to show you how you can store phantom power settings in your session file. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, you have to ensure that your Quantum is set to accept MIDI control. I believe that by default this is set to off, so we start by opening Universal Control. Then you're going to double click on your interface. And then in the lower right corner, and by the way, if you can't see this and your real-time analyzer is on, just go ahead and click out of that. In the bottom right corner, you're going to allow MIDI control internally only, which means from the DAW. External only is for external MIDI equipment that come in through the MIDI port. Okay, once that's set to internal, go ahead and close it. Go back to Logic Pro. Next, you're going to add external MIDI faders to your session, and this is what allows you to control preamp gain settings from within your session. This is especially handy for those who have an iOS device and Logic Remote, who also have a need to adjust gain settings from somewhere in your studio besides the mix position. I'm going to use a blank Logic Pro session to illustrate. Obviously, this applies to any session file you might have currently open. Now you're going to use the keyboard shortcut to create new tracks. That's Command Option N. Then you'll see at the top there, you want to select External MIDI. For the output source, choose Quantum. Now we're going to create multiple tracks at the same time, and we'll use the ascending button to do that automatically. So just go ahead and start with channel 1. Make sure ascending is selected. And since you have 8 preamps on your Quantum, you go ahead and type in 8. If you have a Quantum 2, this also works. You just type in 4, and you can control your 4 preamps that way. Go ahead and hit enter, click create. Now you can see on this in the arrange window that you have all 8 MIDI faders ready to go. They all have the default icons that are automatically assigned by Logic, and you can change those later if you are worried about that throwing you off. And immediately you can see that any adjustments, I'm going to use, let's just use channel 6 as an example. You can use any of these to change the preamp gain for whatever channel is selected. And just because you can't see it on your Quantum readout display doesn't mean it's not being changed. Alright, so that's all you need to do to go ahead and change the gain, real quick from your session. Now, however, if you want to store those settings for your session, say you have a drum kit that's all mic'd up and you have the gain levels just exactly the way you want, and you want it to go right back as soon as you start the session, you're going to have to create some regions within the arrange window that have MIDI data that corresponds to Continuous Controller 7, which is just for volume, and Continuous Controller 14, which is for phantom power. So I'll use channel 6 again as an example. Right-click and select the pencil tool. Go ahead and click somewhere in the timeline for track 6. And you'll see a blank region come up. Just double-click on it. And you'll see the piano roll. By default, you don't usually see the automation lane showing, so go ahead on the top toolbar there in the piano roll editor. Click on Show Hide Automation. And then you're going to see down here that there's a drop-down menu for various MIDI parameters. Go ahead and select MIDI volume, and this is going to allow you to edit the preamp volume. And if you see here, as I click right in there, it's going to put in whatever the value is currently. Then as I go up and down, that's going to change the preamp level, and whatever you have there, that's just what's going to be stored. Now, for phantom power, you're going to want to go to MIDI control 0 through 63 in the automation drop-down menu. Go up to continuous controller 14, which is unassigned for most MIDI purposes. And then here, you can click in the first measure again in your blank box, and anything above 63 is going to switch on phantom power. Anything below it is going to switch it off. And that way you can keep that stored there. Now obviously you can do the same for all 8 tracks. And something that I recommend if you want to be doing this frequently is to build it into a template. But if you do that, I'm going to get out of the piano roll here. You're going to want to, let's go back to the pointer tool. Select all the regions and use Control-M, which is the default key command for muting regions. And that way you won't have MIDI commands being sent to your interface by default that alter the preamp volume. Then say if you only want to store preamp volumes and phantom power settings for a couple of tracks, say 1 and 2, you just unmute them and then they're ready to go. So just save that into a template, and that's all you really need to do. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, just leave comments in the comments field. I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can. And enjoy making music with your Quantum and Logic Pro.